Video killed the radio star. Now look what it's done to Football Weekly as we present our very special Europa League semi-final roundup. On the road to Amsterdam, Chelsea dazzle Basel and Fenerbahce have a matchy with Benfica. Who's going to make it all the way to the big final? Those questions coming up. Plus Italy's handshake gate, Norwich Stoke and a few other bits of football-related excitement in this Football Weekly Very Extra. Pwah! On this edition of What Has Been Seen Cannot Be Unseen, James Horncastle.
That's me.
Yep, absolutely. Paul McInnes. Hi, Paul. And Barry Glendenning.
Hello.
All right, it's a full house here as we look back on so many things. Of course, it's all about Europa League semi-finals, first legs. Chelsea-Basel, or Basel-Chelsea rather. Paul McInnes, you were all over this.
Yes, like I had to go and watch it in the waiting room, a pub down the road, which is kind of a hotel bar, which is very kind of, it brings in all the passing train. It's very exciting.
Why did you have to watch it there?
Because I needed alcohol by 8 o'clock at night, which is as good a reason as any. Chelsea played very well, I thought.
Yeah, Rafa got it right.
Yeah, Rafa did get it right. It's the sort of night you look at that squad and you think, well, this is a Premier Champions League squad. It should be performing very well in this competition. They had the right strength, athleticism, experience and youth and pace, and I thought they generally did a job.
Luiz back in the midfield, James?
Yeah, and I think that was integral to how they controlled the game, because we saw this Basel team against Tottenham sort of run them ragged for a time, and that was never really the case, I thought, last night. I thought there was quite a restraint about Chelsea, which was quite impressive. I thought Luiz, again, yeah, I mean, we saw him in that role in the Club World Cup against Monterrey. He did it well. I think it's probably. I think personally, it's probably his best position. And again, he scored a crucial goal. He scored that incredible goal against Fulham last week. Scored the match-winning free kick. It was a dubious challenge. People probably would say, you know, whether he should be on the pitch or not, because a challenge on Philip Deggan. But you know, excellent, really.
Barry?
David Luiz sort of began life at Chelsea sort of as a figure of fun with the sideshow bob haircut, and Gary Neville didn't do him many favours with that very funny comment about the PlayStation. But he's gradually emerging as the new leader of that team, I think. And if he stays there, and I suspect why wouldn't he? Could see him sort of becoming the new John Terry, as it were, but you know, without the less savoury aspects to his character.
All right, one would hope. Torres, you'd wear a mask if you played like that?
It's quite a fetching mask, isn't it? It's quite enigmatic. It makes him look more interesting than his play generally.
Lone Ranger-esque.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Good point, actually. Johnny Depp coming up in that movie soon.
Right, although he plays very much the Tonto role, but so does Torres. If you know, Italian speakers will know what I'm talking about. Yeah. But it was a bit of a shocker in a competition that he had previously shown signs of life in.
Yes, I mean, I think Paul Doyle put it well in the paper today. It was okay, it just wasn't good enough. He did get involved. He held the ball up half decently, hit the post.
Yeah, he hit the toes when he should have sred.
Should have scored, and his layoffs were.
His overhead kick was a triumph. I mean, it ended up being an assist, fortunately for him. I particularly loved the ball which was sent through to him. He was put through on goal, and he stood on it and dummied himself, basically. He ended up 4 or 5 metres down the field and the ball back where he started.
Yeah, I mean, that sort of stuff seems to be indicative of the new Torres, the Torres who's lost his confidence. I think for me, more worrying is when he's doing things the right way. He is actually making the right decisions and trying to execute the right things, but doesn't quite get them right. And you need moments of class, a real Lewandowski-esque class, when you're playing that lone front man for a big side. I just thought another thing that Rafa did which kind of compensated, which was to Dirk Kuyt's the side a little bit, with having Ramirez and Moses out wide, who were very industrious and quite often both defensively and offensively winning ball and creating opportunities.
Interesting. Have they got one foot in the final, or will that very dubious penalty come back to haunt them, James?
Well, that was Benitez's fear after the game. He thought, it surprised them that it had been given and it could cost them. But I think that their form has generally been so good in semi-finals at home, whether they've been knocked out or not. I don't think they've been beaten there for some time at the Bridge. And you just think, as Paul was saying earlier, it's a Champions League squad. And you look at the opposition they've faced so far. You know, they played Sparta Prague, Steaua, they've played Rubin, Basel. When you look at it like that, all those teams have their merits, but it's a competition that Chelsea, should be in this position right now, if you know what I mean.
They should be bidding for the final.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Well, they're not going to have Ashley Cole next time. He had a good game, but you're reasonably positive about their chances, Barry.
I was disappointed with Basel, to be honest. I thought they seemed a bit cowed and overawed in the first half. I expected a lot better from them, to be honest. And it's difficult to see how they will improve away from home. Like, I mean, their own ground is a bit of a fortress, and they've let a good opportunity go, I think. I noticed as well, actually, their celebrity fan, Roger Federer, was at the game, wearing one of those despicable half-and-half friendship scarves.
What's despicable about that?
What?
I mean, surely you want to remember the occasion, commemorate a great moment, two clubs coming together, a wonderful night of football. I think it's only a cynic, Barry, who would look down on that sort of activity.
No, I don't think so. I think most football fans think they're an aberration. I know a guy who sells them for a living. Yeah.
How much do they cost to make, Barry?
He pays £3 each for them.
And how much do you sell them for?
Tenner.
Right, okay.
So you're a mug for buying one.
Yeah, but you see the grafters outside the grounds selling them. They'll pitch up with a bag. They generally buy 100 at a time from whoever it is they buy them from. So that's 300 quid outlay, and sell them all in 20 minutes for £1,000.
Brilliant. And the second half of the season, you can just turn them upside down. And
I think what I'd like to do is manufacture them, but just make one half slightly longer than the other, so that, particularly paranoid fans will get their little measuring tapes out to make sure their team is equally represented on them.
all right then. And now, moving along, and the other semi-final in Istanbul, Fenerbahce against Benfica. What a night for the Turks.
Yeah, I think a lot of people saw them as the underdogs in this tie, because Benfica have had a remarkable season. They see this team as one of their best, certainly in recent memory. I don't think it'll ever reach the heights of the 60s and 70s, but they didn't really turn up, and I think they were maybe cowed by the atmosphere in Istanbul, very sort of typically intimidating atmosphere, and they missed Luiz, their centre-back, because all Fenerbahce did for most of the game was play balls into the box, which isn't their typical game plan, and they just completely dominated Benfica in the air. They hit the post, the woodwork 3 times.
Had a penalty that Christian missed.
And ended up bawling his eyes out.
That was extraordinary, because when was the penalty kick?
Just before half-time.
Right. So then afterwards he looks a bit distraught, head in hands type thing. But at the end of the first half, they cut away to him, and he's being led away, absolutely bawling, as you say, his eyes out. Yeah,
and when they did eventually take the lead, he pointed to the sky, kind of in relief. But apparently Christian has form in this case. One of his celebrations in a Turkish Cup final, when Fenerbahce were dominating Galatasaray in the league, he would make fake tears like that.
Oh, really?
So it was karma for a lot of Galatasaray fans to see him miss that penalty. That result, they might look back on with regret, because, as I said, they hit the woodwork 3 times. They should have won that game maybe 2 or 3-0. And we all know Benfica are very strong at home, so I think great result for Fenerbahce, great night for Fenerbahce, but probably not the result they wanted.
How many games was it Benfica had gone unbeaten? Like 37?
Well, the last time they lost a match in 90 minutes was in October against Spartak, very good. So, yeah. Well, going to be a very different game perhaps in Portugal next week, also because Benfica are going to be missing Moussa Sarr, Mehmet Topal, the midfielder, and Webbo, who was stupidly booked for kicking the ball away, apparently.
Yeah, and Morelos got injured. They obviously got Dirk Kuyt and Joseph Jobo.
Dirk Kuyt is not out, but
no.
Yeah,
it's kind of. I like this the sort of Everton and Liverpool players, former Everton, Liverpool, being on the. It's like Brookside on the Bosphorus or something like that.
Brilliant, right?
Yeah,
Hollyoaks and Ashtapur. Good.
Perhaps we're going to talk about Fiorentina, Sampdoria.
What do you think is going to happen there?
I think Fiorentina might win, in fact, because Fiorentina have got, let's say, the easiest running of the of the top 6 in Serie A, and they might sneak into the Champions League.
Yeah, they're chasing Milan's top 3 spot.
Yep, they've cut down the gap, and Yeah, there's a very interesting storyline on I think Sunday's game.
Handshake gate.
Possible handshake gate in Serie A, which is I think viewers will recall last year when Delio Rossi, the now Sampdoria manager, was in charge of Fiorentina. He replaced Adam Ljajic, one of their players, against Nevada, and Ljajic gave him a sarcastic round of applause and allegedly said something which he denies saying, and Rossi set about beating him up in the dugout.
He was stood up on the touchline. He turns around, looks at him, and then dives in and just pummels him repeatedly. It was a magnificent bit of video.
So
this will be their first meeting, I think.
It is. A comment about.
There were suggestions that he'd made some comments about his family,
or something like that.
Mm.
But that's all been denied.
Right.
And Ljajic has been sort of a reformed character. He has had an excellent season so far. Scored an incredible free kick at the weekend against Torino, but this is their first meeting. And since then, Delio Rossi was banned for 3 months. He got another job at Sampdoria to rescue them, which he's done. He kind of committed another misdemeanor earlier in the season when he gave the middle finger to Nicolas Perdiso, the Roma defender.
Mm-hmm.
But he says, he's got no sort of problem with Ljajic. He would shake his hand if Ljajic was the one to come up to him and offer his family.
Point of honour. All right, would you like to go for another game? I don't know. Torino, you mentioned there, been involved in some phenomenal games recently. They were 3-0 down against Fiorentina, came back to 3-3, and then Fiorentina won it 4-3. Previously, they'd been, what were they up against Napoli, and they ended up losing 5-3. That was another brilliant game. This Sunday night, they've got the Turin derby against Juventus, a game which could see, if other results go their way, Juve win the title.
Yeah, I think if Napoli were to somehow lose to Pescara, who are bottom and well adrift at the bottom of the table, and Juve were to win, then Juve would win the title at their own in Turin at their rivals' expense. But Juventus fans want to win it at home the following week against Palermo.
All right, okay. Well, this is going to see the Stadio Olimpico Turin. We'll be live on ESPN, coincidentally enough. I don't know, James. You joined me for that?
No.
Yeah.
There's an interesting game in Spain, actually.
Is there an interesting game in Spain?
Yeah. Real Mallorca are entertaining Real Zaragoza. It's a bottom-of-the-table clash. Zaragoza are bottom, 27 points. Real Mallorca are third from bottom with 28. And they, of course, have the mighty, glamorous foreign signing Alan Hutton.
Right.
On loan from Villa.
Of course, there's also in Spain, speaking of teams called Real, the team that's called Real Madrid taking on Atletico Madrid in the Madrid derby.
Yeah, but Atletico Madrid always lose that, don't they?
That's true.
The tie that you could
Except
make
when they win and do someone else a favour.
is that we've already had celebrity fan Roger Federer. Like Nadal, his rival, so to speak, is from Mallorca, but he doesn't support Mallorca. He supports Real Madrid, but then his uncle played for Barca. You see, at least Federer, for all his half-scarf sort of thing, sticks with one team, whereas Nadal seems to just float between. I mean, he was even complimenting Dortmund this week.
Nadal's scarf probably has like about 5 different sections on it.
So.
Right.
His uncle was some player, wasn't he? Dirty, dirty man.
The Beast of Barcelona, says producer Ben. I can't remember him at all.
Was it Miguel Ángel Nadal?
All right.
He was a centre half, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And an absolute brute.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, that's almost it for today's Football Weekly Very Extra, apart from the fact that producer Ben wants me to say that you look like an extra from Game of Thrones. You lucky chap, James Horncastle.
Perhaps Jesus Pirate, as I've been called.
Jesus Pirate?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just remembered, I think maybe Nadal has given some financial support to Mallorca or something like that. Or something.
He's given them an injection.
I'm sure Sid would point
No,
out.
wait.
No. But yeah, so maybe I was a bit unjust there on Big Rafa.
Okay.
But yeah, apparently I've been growing this, but I might shave the beard off tomorrow. It might have been a Football Weekly beard. I don't know.
Okay. Do let us know.
Or join the King's Watch.
Or join the King's Watch.
Go on
Take
the wall.
the black.
I'd like to go to the wall, yeah.
I wouldn't like to go to the wall.
You'll be first up against it, mate, when I...
Well, the thing is, when you get as far as we've got in the thing, is there going to be a wall for you to get up?
Don't.
Just saying.
I want to be the Khaleesi's advisor.
I bet you do.
I know what I'd advise her to do.
Right, okay. Well, that's it for today's Football Weekly Very Extra. We'll be back next Friday. with our reaction to the second legs of this ever so exciting Europa League. Do join us then. Of course, Monday will bring Football Weekly back for your listening pleasure. So enjoy the weekend in the meantime, and we'll speak to you soon.